start off with, you began the presentation by talking about this dislocation as far as media is concerned. I want you to amplify that for me a little bit. In what respect has it dislocated and why?
Sure. When it comes to newspapers and magazines specifically, it's been a massive dislocation. We had a very clear, very well-defined business where we collected dollars. The revenue came from people paying for the newspaper every morning. And then we also were very balanced because the other 50% of the revenue came from advertisers who put advertisements in those printed products that people bought every morning. People have stopped buying newspapers on a daily basis because we've given it all out for free on digital devices. Therefore, there's a massive dislocation. In a way, it's a self-cannibalization, but a necessity because of the reality and the need and the demand and the exigencies of people on digital devices. And what's perverse about this dislocation, that it came with a promise, with the promise that if you did that, if you gave all the content away for free on digital devices, therefore you would be able to quickly build an audience and advertisers would follow and would pay the same amount of money that they were paying for the advertising that they did on the printed product. That has not happened. That is one of what I call digital fables, that if you build it, somehow they will come. If you create a massive audience and you sell page views, people would pay for those page views. And what we didn't calculate is that there would be a torrent of those page views and there would be a massive amount of inventory competing for the same eyeballs that we always had. And therefore it would completely devalue the business, which is exactly what's happened.
So that's what you talk about, it being commoditized content. The challenge you then is to move from volume to value. How do you migrate up that value chain optimally?
Yeah. So newspapers and magazines, they have to stop selling volume. They have to stop trying to chase audiences through clickbait, through easy content that we know will get you a massive audience. And then we need to take quantity and qualify that audience, meaning they need to begin to sell verifiable eyeballs, people that are really watching that content. So we like to talk, the model has to change from clicks to clocks, from selling just page views to selling engagement with proven time engagement. That means that you need to change your formula. That means you need to sell to advertisers a very engaged audience, people that are really reading the article, prove that they're human and not bots clicking on it remotely through an algorithm. Then depth of scroll, people are really spending not just time but actually finishing the product, finishing reading a piece of content. And at the same time that they're coming back. So they are a reliable, verifiable, not fly-by-night person that landed on your page and will never come back. But these are loyal readers that come on a daily basis and check, have a habit of consuming that content. When you produce that for a brand, for an advertiser, that's phenomenally more exciting than just selling me clickbait.
As far as the advertisers are concerned, there are 4 specific revenue drivers that you spoke about. I think it was readership, event, branded content, and also marketing solutions. How do media owners, publications, platforms need to recalibrate, need to change their thinking in that respect?
Yeah. The biggest recalibration is getting back to reader revenue. For the first time this year globally, reader revenue has overtaken advertising revenue as the biggest source of revenue for newspapers. It didn't used to be. As I said at the beginning, there was a very clear balance between 50% of your revenue coming from reader revenue, 50% coming from advertising revenue. That was lost and dislocated as a result of the uptake of digital devices and consumption. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to charging people for content. Whether that is subscriptions, a meter model, a freemium model, or micropayments, that needs to be brought back. That's the most important of the 4 big revenue drivers. The second one is event revenue. Only magazines and newspapers, because of the prestige of the brand, they're the only ones that have the power to convene, to bring people together, and to really create stimulating content on stage, which at the end of the day is content on stage. The third one is branded content. The model for advertisers has changed. Advertisers used to sell a product by describing the attributions of that product. Here's a car and it has this technology, and now it has the new safety devices or the new comfort seats or more power, 0 to 60. That has changed. Advertisers now know that a more effective way to sell that car is to tell a story. So they're selling you a lifestyle. If you buy this car, you will experience this. And it's a much more difficult, complex narrative, but much more engaging, yes? So that's branded content. Don't sell me the attributes of the product, sell me a dream around the product. And finally is marketing solutions. So, in the old days when newspapers talked to an advertiser was, okay, we're launching this new car in South Africa, and can I sell you some space? Buy me that quarter page, that full page in my auto supplement on the weekend. Now it's a different conversation. It's like, what is the target audience for that car? And it could be if it's blue tech technology from Mercedes that is environmentally friendly, efficiency. So I have a massive audience across all my brands, and they're having conversations about environmental awareness. They really do want to save money in their petrol bills every month. So, and this audience is here, there, and in this other place, as opposed to just sell you a specific space. So that's a transformational conversation that's going on, and it's much more beneficial to both.
Overarching all of this, of course, is video. If you're not in the video space, you're not in the space at all. But what makes great video?
What makes great video, in a way, is what makes great journalism. It's something that inspires you, that provokes you, that makes you think about something differently. Good video has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has to have a narrative process with a clear conclusion. And in this day and age, the length of video is very, very important as well for the right platform, the right device. So long form video is complicated. It's better to do shorter form video. And one of the mistakes that has been made is that video doesn't need to be heavily in terms of production in the digital age. Our expectations when we consume video on small devices are not the same as on cinema, where we expect unbelievable surround sound. We consume a lot of video on the go. So doing video that is not heavily in production, so text muted video, for instance, with just text coming and going. Video based on still photography, where you reveal one and the other. Caricatures, cartoon type narratives of video. A very compelling point of view video, a very compelling new narratives, and a data-driven video, infographics, info video, video graphics. These are some of the new narratives that we need to master that are still considered video. They're still visual narratives, but they're not the traditional video of the big cinematic 30-second commercial or the news video type formula.
And in order for that to work, you also made the telling point that news organization have to, and I quote, claim and own the franchise. And by that we're talking about the audience franchise, in other words, the niche.
Yes. That is essential. We need to move away from the American model of multi-section magazines and newspapers that appeal to all. In the old days, the business model for a newspaper was a bundle. We bundled everything together. National, politics, religion, society, sports, entertainment. And we pretended that bundle, it worked for a long time. It worked for 175 years. This is a model invented by Joseph Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst in America. That's the modern American newspaper. And by derivation, the news magazine and many other magazines. It was a bundle. And that's it. That was the space where you got your fix for news for all. And that has changed. So we believe in newspapers that really claim a franchise. So newspapers that really claim an audience and produce little extremely well. And so in South Africa, we believe in newspapers that will do politics extremely well, like nobody else.
This is the haute couture model.
That's the haute couture.
Correct.
Correct. So therefore, you focus your journalism on going after what you're really good at and reclaiming that audience. And then if you really own that audience, the deeper you go in owning that audience, the higher share of wallet you get of your advertiser, because I really own that audience. And that audience is not always a highbrow audience. It can also be a pedestrian audience. It could be guys who are really interested in street football. But you own that kind of audience. You own that focus because perhaps you cover third division football in the townships, and the Sowetan decides that we're going to own that space, and that's a very exciting and interesting space to some advertisers in South Africa. But you need to decide, what is my niche and what I'm going to do. You have to abandon the okay, we're going to cover everything.
But it takes courage for any newspaper publisher and editor to abandon perhaps what has worked in the past in favour of the one big piece of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, but you can still do the other by digitizing a lot of that content. Correct.
Yeah.
To the digital space, and you can create a team that through social media, through monitoring what's going on in other places, you aggregate it and you share it, and it's okay. But you need to stick to your knitting. But first you need to understand, what is my knitting?
And just a final question to you, and I think the thing which will make many newspaper owners happy in this country, you made the very valid point that print is eternal. We ain't getting rid of print soon, are we?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, print is eternal. No medium has ever replaced another medium. It's another one of these digital fables. And remember, when cinema begun, people say, oh, theatre's dead. And then the first movies, what we do as human beings, we do what's called skeuomorphism, which is a term to describe transporting an old medium into a new medium. So when cinema comes along, we take theatre, and the first movies were filmed theatre plays. When the first news broadcasts came out in television, we did the same thing, skeuomorphism. We took radio broadcasts, and there were just two guys who used to read the news in a microphone like this, smoking a cigarette, reading the news to a camera that's switched on. And we did the same thing with newspapers, with digital and newspapers. We transported the multi-section paper and put it on digital, and that also has been proven not to work. So it is the first natural evolution of humans, because we don't know what the new language is for that new medium. But that's what we do inevitably. But one medium never replaces the other. Theatre was supposed to be dead. If you go to London, if you go to New York, musical theatre was the reinvention of theatre, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar business. And even classical theatre has come back with a vengeance. Radio's dead? Yeah, come on. Radio's a multi-billion-dollar business. But what happened? Radio evolved into opinionated radio, into the Rush Limbaughs of this world, the very aggressive, opinionated radio. And the same thing is happening with newspapers. The editorial model has to change for it to survive this evolution. But we don't believe that paper will die. As human beings, we learn through touch. We're tactile people. And digital doesn't satisfy the human needs. So no, I don't believe it will die, and I also don't believe books will die. But the value proposition and the consumption will change inevitably. I'm not here telling you that newspaper circulation is going to go down. That would be a foolish thing to say. But indeed, the value proposition and the consumption frequency of that product will be less. The key is to make it premium. The key is to charge for a book that you were charging pocketbook prices, now $75, because you really want that product on paper.
Juan, Senor, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.